Today we have Patricia Ivory on the podcast. She's the creator of the Fit and Toned Over 40 program and specializes in helping women over 40 with their fitness. Patricia has spent over 20 years on her own health and fitness journey, and she's a certified health coach, personal trainer, life coach, and has continuing education in weight loss resistance and metabolic restoration through functional nutrition. And if you haven't seen her before, she stays extremely fit and in shape at 48 years old. Patricia is passionate about helping women over 40 develop a stronger body and mindset toward nutrition, fitness, and self-care. And she's on a mission to prove that even if you're over 40, it's not all downhill and your best days are still ahead of you. Even if you're not over 40 and you're listening to this, I think you'll get a lot out of this episode. Patricia came to the United States from Brazil at 25 years old, knowing no one and speaking no English, and she's been able to create a good life for herself and live out her dreams. Patricia, welcome to the show.
Wow, welcome. Thank you so much. I mean, thank you, not welcome, but I'm just like, holy cow, you just gave a beautiful introduction there. Thank you so much. I feel really honored to be here and share my story.
For sure. And you do have an absolutely great story. And we were just chatting before we were recording on some of the things you've done and overcome, and it's pretty incredible. So, a lot of people now, obviously look at you and you look very fit, right? You're very fit. You have a lot of muscle tone, good definition. But as we were just talking about before we started recording, it hasn't always been that way. There's been a journey leading up to this. So obviously you grew up in Brazil. So what were things like for you growing up in Brazil?
Whew, growing up in Brazil, obviously third world country, right? Especially back then, the gap between the poor and the rich was way bigger. So you either really poor or you're really rich. And I came from a really poor family. So, growing up, I didn't have too many resources available. So, I always wanted to do ballet. I wanted to play the piano. I wanted to, how can I say, play sports and all that kind of stuff. And my mom could never afford. My mom, I grew up with as, in a single home. Like my mom, was not with my dad. And so it was really challenging, financially for us. So I could never really develop, the things that I had a passion, growing up. Unfortunately, really grateful for my mom. She did the best that she could. But I just saw myself, struggling even to have food on the table with my mom, so I had to really be grateful for what we had. But I always was a big dreamer. I remember myself always like, dream awake, like just thinking about like the day that I would have a car, the day that I would have, all these things. And I would just daydream all the flipping time. It was so funny. So, and I guess everything just came to pass. I think that's so beautiful that the mind can create those things for us, right? But when I came to the age of 20, I start packing a little bit of weight, and I never was like super overweight, but I got chubby, like a big cheeks. And I remember, I had a boyfriend, and I didn't think that I was, anything. I was like, I think I'm just a normal person. But we started getting a little bit more money, and I got introduced to a better world, if you will, where people were actually going to college and they were looking better and that kind of stuff. But I didn't think I looked anything less. So I remember wearing like this sports bra, and if you know me, I never stopped wearing them. Okay. I'm always in the crop top. I just love that kind of style. But that was even back then. And I remember going with him to the beach, and I had like this boy shorts and this sports bra, and I was just comfortable. And I thought that I was fit, I guess. I don't know. And he pointed out that my belly was hanging. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? And then it really hit me, right? And I felt so embarrassed. And I remember back then, like I said, we were in a better financial situation, and I hired a personal trainer. And then I lost the weight, and I felt amazing. But I also felt amazing in how strong I was feeling, and I just fell in love with fitness, right? That was on my early 20s.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, obviously quite a story growing up in kind of extreme poverty and not necessarily having a lot of the access to resources to a lot of things. But then, things did get a little better. You did get into fitness. You finally were able to have a transformation of sorts. So, after you kind of, it was your early 20s, you had that transformation. You eventually ended up moving to the United States at 25 years old. So, talk us through, like, why did you decide to move from Brazil to the US?
Yeah, that was, definitely a huge change in my life, and it took a lot of courage, right? And to even leave everything I knew and come to a country that I didn't even know how to say hello. I swear, I didn't even know how to say hello in English. So, but I was like, doesn't matter. I'm just gonna go. The opportunity opened. I was able to get my visa. So I was in college in Brazil, and my major was tourism. And I thought that, tourism would mean I can travel the world, you know. So I knew that English was something that would help me to get where I wanted to be. So, but I knew that I wouldn't have the finances to pay a 3-4 years course, because that's where my friends were doing, the ones that have money, that had money. And for me, I was like, what is going to be the cheapest and the fastest way for me to learn English? Obviously, it's going to be if I put myself in the culture. If I can do that for 6 months, I think I can come back with something good, so I can get a good job right when I come back to Brazil. So that was my plan. So I figured out, saved as much as I could, and then I was able to come, and I went to Santa Barbara, and they have like a international student English program there, and I was able to get a package, and then take care of everything, and I came. So but when I arrived here, my eyes got lit, right? I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Where am I? Like, I'm in paradise. Santa Barbara was absolutely gorgeous, and all these kids my age group, everybody 20, 25, everybody living on their own, paying their bills, being waitress. I was like, whoa, 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 I need to stay here. How am I going to stay here? Because in Brazil, you live with your parents until you get married. If I would be a waitress in Brazil, I would starve. And here I was like, there's an opportunity for me here, and I am going to go for it. And then I started figuring it out how I would be able to stay, was if I would get into college here. So I was like, okay, so what is going to happen here is that I needed to take my TOEFL test, and I need to pass this test. And I only had a 6 month to figure this thing out and learn the English enough to pass the test. So I had some Brazilian friends trying to connect with me, here. And I'm like, don't talk to me, because I didn't come here to speak Portuguese, And then I just started making friendships with Americans. And I actually got a boyfriend that was in America. Was like, that's going to be even easier, And I just immersed myself into the culture. And obviously at that age, you can learn faster. And in 6 months, I learned enough to do the TOEFL test and pass it. So I passed it, and I applied to a junior college, and I passed it. And then I was like, okay, this is my way. I'm going to stay. So, and was the best decision of my life.
Wow. Wow. I mean, you talking about overcoming challenges. You literally came here, knew no one, knew nothing. And then within 6 months, you just kind of threw yourself in the fire, right? And just kind of forced yourself to learn, and you rise to the occasion, and were able to kind of inundate yourself in the culture of the United States. So now, a few months later, you're in the US, English. So what happens from here?
It was hard. I'm not going to lie to you. I remember that I cried many nights, and especially in the beginning, missing my family, missing everybody, and really knowing that I had made the decision to stay. I just didn't want to stay here illegally. I always wanted to stay here legal. I wanted to do things the right way. So, and for me, going to college and staying college was the way. Then, and even in college, I remember, still working out on my own, training, going to the gym, and especially in Santa Barbara, everybody looked amazing, so I really want to continue pushing. And I looked fantastic. So, And then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I changed my major to business because I was like, maybe I'll just do business or whatever. So I just kept going, and I ended up getting pregnant, actually, and then long story short, we ended up going to Vegas just to get married because he didn't want me to go back to Brazil with the child, and he didn't want me to, not have the baby. But we were young, all over the place, and I ended up marrying him, but that didn't last long. But at that point he was like, let's get your green card so you can stay, because he fell in love with my son, and he was like, we want to raise this kid even if we're not together. And then that's what happened. When I got pregnant, obviously I gained some weight, and then after that we ended up moving to LA from Santa Barbara, and that was like a dog world, right? Because now he ended up moving to Chicago, and I stayed in LA as a single mom raising my son. I couldn't finish college at that point, but I had the green card, so I could still stay here legally. And then I had to go find 3 jobs. Okay, so I found 3 jobs to make things happen for me, and my son, because he was paying child support, but it was like $400 with, I was like, I can't even pay half of the rent with this. So I remember that I was a waitress. So this is gonna be a great story here. Check this out. So I lost the weight. I had the baby, had my son, went back to the gym, lost the weight, that whole thing. Then we broke up. He moved to Chicago. I stayed in LA, and now I had to figure out how to live. Nobody here, once again, no family to help, nothing, right? Then I was just like, okay, so I got a job, an outside sales job. And I don't know if you know anything about LA, but traffic there is crazy, right? So I was doing outside sales, selling seafood to restaurants. Okay, so I would fight traffic. I got a nanny for my son. I would drop him off with her in the morning, and then I would go fight the traffic and go to restaurants to sell seafood. Then I was like, okay, this is not paying the bills. I need to find something else. I'm like, okay, so what am I going to do? Then I found another company that is sold olive oil to restaurants. So I was like, okay, I'm already going there. Now I offer a different product, right? So then I was selling 2 different products, and it helped a little bit. So things were, paying off. And then I wanted to do a bikini competition because I felt that I was, my confidence was so, I was just, even though I looked good, I needed a challenge. Not that I didn't have enough challenge already, right? But I knew that working with my body was always the weapon that I needed to accomplish anything and overcome anything in life. There's just something about when you get strong and you're in a gym lifting weights and you just pushing yourself. It's me against me, and it's just, or me for me, if you will. And it was just, I just fell in love with that process. And I wanted to do a bikini competition. And now I am here as a single mom, 2 jobs, doing everything outside sales, driving in my car all day. And then, there's a cost for that, right? The bikini, that you need to buy, the posing, the trainer, the supplements, all those things. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to get a 3rd job for me to afford this. So sure enough, I got another job just to afford my bikini competition.
So how many hours were you working per week at this point?
Oh Lord. So I would wake up at 4, go to the gym, work out, drop my son off, okay, at the babysitter. Then I would go to the gym. I work out from 6:30 to 7:30. I would already take my clothes in my bag, and I would shower in the gym. I would take my food already that I would pack the night before. I had a cooler with everything that I had to eat, all my supplements packed, everything ready. And then I would work out. Then I had to be at the restaurants by 8:39 because they close early. They close around 3:30 to serve dinner. So at that time, I can't get in there. So 8:39, I had to be at the restaurants. Then I had to rush through traffic to LA. And then, so that would be 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30. 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, so 7 hours. Then I would fight traffic back down to the valley, which is, an hour from LA. And then I would check in at the restaurant around 6 to do a night, dinner, right? So 5:36, then I would work normally until 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then I would close the restaurant, and then I would rush, pick up my son at the babysitter's house and play with him until midnight. Yeah, he stayed up until midnight so mommy could have time. And then I would sleep 4 hours, 4.5 hours for the days. Obviously, I didn't work out every day, but the days that I did, which were normally 4 or 5 days a week, I would, just sleep that amount and then pack everything, drop him off, and do that again over and over again. So that I had Saturdays and Sundays off, but I was a single mom and I was still pretty young. And obviously I want to go out. So sometimes I would go out, whatever. But I was able to do a bikini competition, going through all of that. And I actually got second place on my first show. So obviously I did pretty well there, right? And I was really proud of myself with that. And I had to get a second job. That's why I say, when people say, oh, I don't have the money, or, my kids are more important. Or I was like, no, it's not like my son wasn't important, but I was important too, and, and I wanted so bad that I even thought, I had to figure out a way. I think when you want something really bad, you become resourceful, right? You just figure it out. Like we talked before this call, I have a plan for this month to hit a certain number with clients, right? And revenue. And I'm like, I'm just going to become resourceful and this is going to happen, right? So when you learn how to say, how can I do this? The universe or whatever you believe in, I'm a Christian, so obviously I believe in Jesus, but I believe that he's for me. I believe God is for me. And I just believe that when I ask how, the answers will come. Right? Instead of like, I can't, or why is this so hard? Or I eliminate that out of my vocabulary. I'm always asking how I can accomplish this. And I think that has been, huge in my journey. And I did, and I figured out the how, and I was like, I got another job and let's go. I want to look this way. I want to feel this way. And I want to hold that trophy. And I did, you know what I mean? It's just the life just becomes so much more exciting when you are actually creating goals for you and you smashing them, right? When people ask me, what is the definition of a success for you, Patricia? For me, being successful is exactly that, is me creating goals and crushing those goals. I feel really successful when that happens for me. Make sense?
Holy cow. Yes. I mean, talk about just the ultimate no excuses mindset. I mean, you're literally driving through traffic, one way, then the other way. You're still working out. You're still prepping your meals. You're sleeping 4.5 hours a night in order to make it happen, which I think not that many people would be willing to do. So, I mean, obviously so many directions we could go here, but yeah, let's kind of unpack that then. So, how did you, what happens next? I know you mentioned like you were fit for a while and then, went through some challenges, maybe got out of shape a bit. Why don't we start to get into that a little bit?
Right. Yeah. So and I love that because, as we're talking here, I keep thinking about all these ups and downs, right? In the journey of weight loss and getting fit and stay fit and healthy, it's really full of up and downs, right? So when people tell me, oh, I want to lose weight in 12 weeks and and then how do I keep it off? I'm like, you may be able to do that, but understand that life is going to happen in the process. And this is something that you're going to have to do for the rest of your life, right? So it's a long-term game because you don't know what things are going to happen. But when they do happen, you don't quit. You just slow down, right? And then you continue pushing, until the time that you can do more. And then when you can do more, then you do more and you create that gap. And then life is going to happen. Then you're like, oh, crap, now I'm going to slow down again. But don't stop, right? So what happened was, I ended up marrying this guy afterwards. My son was 5 now, and I got married, and he was just a great Christian man, and I felt that time that that's what I needed for me. And I honestly, I think I was in a very survival mode. I was just really tired, right? I was tired of the grind, tired of being a single mom and trying to raise this child and pay the bills by myself and all of this. And he just was a good man that showed up in my life, right? And I was just tired and I settled. I felt like, I need this help. I need to be with somebody that is a good person, if you will. So I ended up marrying him, even though I wasn't in love with him. Okay, so yeah, so that's when we see the warrior, right? Throwing the towel a little bit, that and then I really tried everything. Like for 8 years, I became a stay-home mom. He was like, Patricia, let me take care of you. Let me help you with this. Like, now it's time for you to raise your son, right? And I was like, kind of okay, let me do this. And he was fantastic. We were like best friends, but I was never really in love with him. But I felt that my son also needed a dad. I felt that, I needed a good man in my life. I needed something solid, and I went for it. And for 8 years, I tried everything that you can possibly imagine to make that relationship work, because, I was like, this is gonna have to work. And but in everything that I tried, I never fell in love with him. I had a respect for him and everything, but I was dying in the relationship. He had a son, and I was able to help raise his son. And then obviously I was able to really give a lot more attention to my son. And I always worked out, always took care of, nutrition in the house. My kids always ate fantastically. I was eating organic food when people didn't know that what they were eating was not organic, you know? So I always been into nutrition, always into, eating super healthy. So I always brought that into the house. But, you know, now I'm getting older, right? So now I'm getting close to my 40s, and I start to see that my body was changing. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? So I wasn't doing so much strength training. At that point, I was just doing more the HIIT workouts and the extra cardio, the things that I used to work on our 20s, right? And I used to just do Pilates, yoga, whatever. And now my belly is growing, right? And I'm like, okay. And my relationship, I was not happy at all in this relationship. Found myself many nights crying myself to sleep. Ended up going to the mission field. Obviously I'm a Christian, and I went to 9 different nations doing mission works, and it was an amazing experience in my life. But I was deep inside dying because, yes, I was a mom. I was helping raise these kids. I was a wife. I was, going on missions. But the cry of my heart was, the warrior, right? To go and create big challenges for me and fight for, and maybe find the love of my dreams, the man that, see what I'm saying, is going to sweep me out of, how can I say, sweep me, out of my feet or whatever name it is. And I was just dying on that relationship. So, I just told him one day, I said, look, I've tried everything. I'm dying here. And I really believe you deserve a woman that, was going to love you the way you deserve to be loved. And I believe the same for me. And it was amazing. I think there was a huge exchange, right? I helped raise your child. You brought so much stability into my life, and I'm forever grateful. But I can see that I'm just literally dying in here, and I can't do this anymore. So I decided to leave. But at that point, I had gained 15 pounds. He was also not, into fitness. So, that relationship was not exactly supporting me in who I am and some other areas of my life as well. And that sometimes it's hard if you have a relationship with a partner that your partner is overweight and it's not into taking care of health. I know it's a challenge, right? And I'm not saying that now you got to go and get divorced, you know what I mean? But I also know that when you make a decision for yourself, obviously I would never leave him because he was overweight, right? I left him because of other reasons. But I've seen in my program women, when they make a decision that they're going to take care of themselves and they're going to really lose that weight, they're going to really take care of their health, they start affecting everybody in the family, and their husband starts to lose weight, and they start, even the parents and grandparents and the kids. It's just an amazing ripple effect when you make the decision, because women, you are the thermostat in the house, right? So, oh, my kids don't like to eat the same thing I eat. Well, you taught them that, you know what I mean? Like, I never gave options to my son. Like, whatever we eating, he didn't even think about it. This is just what we eat, right? So, but anyways, I ended up getting divorced and saw myself now in this place that I am 15 pounds overweight, feeling like crap about myself again. And I was like, what am I going to do now? I don't want to go and work 9 to 5. I want to go back to that grind. And I remember that I always loved fitness, and my entire life, people were always coming to me and asking for advice and asking for help. Like, I had a cousin that came to live with me for a while, and she left to Brazil looking like a model, because in 3 months she totally transformed with me. And I remember she's telling me, she was like, cousin, you would be an amazing coach. Like, seriously, you need to do this. And I'm like, what? I don't know. I don't know. I was just like, yeah, I'm telling you, you should try this. So anyways, I got my certification in Legree Fitness, which is a type of, how can I say, Pilates on steroids, if you will. That's when I started to remember a little bit of the strength training. And then I was just like, you know what? Let me try this. Let me get a certification on this, and let me see if this would be something that I would want to do. So long and behold, all of a sudden I'm coaching and I'm loving it, right? But I was still trying to figure out what I would do, and wasn't really paying the bills. I was making very little money with that. But I was like in the place that it was pretty dark. I was, a single mom now. My son was 14. My mom was living with me from Brazil. So I had just too much in my head. And I was just like, I remember that when I get my body in alignment, I remember when I get strong, I remember that when I'm in the, training, and I'm actually lifting those weights and I'm really feeding my body properly, I just win in all the other areas of my life. I need to go back to that. So then I sign up into a gym and I just start going back into my training, and I literally weaponized my body again. That's what I call. I was just like, boom, let's put this armor again. Like, I felt like Wonder Woman again. And that's when I was like, this is it, Patricia. This is what you do. You help women transform just like you. So let's go. Let's create this program to transform. And then I saw a little bit of a challenge there, because now I'm 42, hormone starts to change, and then what used to work wasn't working anymore. So I had to go get different certifications. I got the health coach certification. Now I'm doing hormone balance certification, and gut healing, and so many other things, because as we age, things really change, and what used to work in our 20s and 30s does not work for us in our 40s anymore, and just changes. But instead of me feeling, how can I say, defeated, oh my gosh, menopause, perimenopause is going to ruin me, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, no, how can I learn about this, right? So I can learn how to balance this whole thing. What is going to work for me at this age so I can continue thriving as I age? And I believe that we cracked the code with this. And the women that come to us, they are normally stuck, like with perimenopause, belly fat, and then they're going to say the plateau of the 40s, and they can break through, and we just come to mama, I got you, and then we do that. But anyway, so from that place, I decided to open my coaching, and now it's been so incredible, the experience in the last 3.5 years doing what I'm doing. But I was able to bring my body to what I always wanted to have, like what I used to have. So I was able to understand how to manage this. So I'm 48 now, and I've learned a lot about how the body works at this age group. But I keep going back to the fitness, right? The fitness and the nutrition, and putting my body and creating that space for self-care, right? Even though I'm now a single mom, back to be a single mom again, trying to build a business, trying to make money, trying to do all those things. And instead of making it an excuse, no, I know that this here is what keeps me grounded mentally, physically, gives me the strength and the energy and the inspiration for me to actually go after the other things in my life that I want to do. So it always comes back to this body. We live in the body, and this is the only thing you have to express who you are in this earth. And if you do not have the best expression of this, it's going to be really hard for you to really express the best of you. Makes sense? So it's all in one alignment here, I believe. And yeah, I can keep going, man. I'm very passionate about this.
Oh, I can tell. I mean, just amazing. Like I said, the ups and downs you've been through. So, I know we're coming up on time here in the next few minutes, but I want to cover one important thing too, is that a lot of you kind of alluded to some things, like you've always just developed this kind of resourcefulness, right? Like you're not willing to accept things, and you can change, the kind of the no excuses mentality. So if a woman comes to you right now and maybe they're struggling with, kind of like you mentioned, it's my hormones, I'm struggling, like I can't change. They're kind of in more of that victim mentality. Like, what are the steps you take to break someone out of that mentality to realize, like, hey, I can do this, I can change my body, I can change my life?
I love that question, right? Because I say this all the time. Mindset is everything, right? So we think that, oh, I just give me the workout program, give me the meal plan, right? And if I can just do that, I'll lose the weight. It doesn't work that way, right? You're going to plateau at some point, right? And when you do, how do you break through? It's going to be really attached to your belief system. It's going to be attached in how you think about yourself when you see that scale not moving, right? So I can go in so many directions here because I see once again so many women accepting, right, the status quo, right? Our moms and our grandmas grew up showing us what it looks like to be on perimenopause or hormone imbalance, and it wasn't a pretty scene, right? They gained weight in the process, right? They talked about all the hot flashes. They talked about losing their minds and like don't understand what the heck was going on with them, getting dried up in their private parts, not being able to have sex anymore. Now husband starts to cheat on them because now they are like dead fishes, you know what I mean? So we grew up with a pretty ugly picture of our moms and grandmas suffering through menopause. So now to when you and women even ashamed to share, right? Like a lot of times I talk to them, it's like, so are you experiencing any symptoms? Like, do you think you are menopause? Oh, I don't know. Like I guess not. I hope not. So there's even this shame around this, right? And I always invite them to say, okay, let's forget about the story that we had with our grandmas and moms growing up, because we live in a whole different world, right? We have so much information and so much resources. And now it's time for us to get educated about this, and we can do something about it and break through all those, how can I say, those theories or those things that we grew up with. And we in the program, we learn that, right? We learn how to do hormone balance through functional nutrition, right? We have created systems to help clients, protocols to help clients with digestive issues, which is one of the things that happen through as you age, you start getting all kinds of digestive problems. Women this age are the most how can I say, stressful population that exists, right? Kids, schools, sports, broken marriages, trying to build business, demanding careers, and now on top of that, you have hormone imbalance, cortisol is through the roof, insulin resistance. I mean, of course, you're going to pack and it's going to be really hard. So we needed to start working with that individual one piece at a time, right? So we need to figure it out first. We're going to clean up this nutrition, but I don't believe in full-blown restriction. This whole thing about I can't eat a carb, I'm not going to eat carbs anymore. We actually do need carbs at this age, which is completely different than what people think. I need to remove you from, doing flipping hours of cardio. Actually, at this age group, cardio is going to just backfire because of the stress that we have. So now we need to work more on walking. And then obviously that would be the first foundation. Then is strength training. We start losing muscle, right? Then it slows everything down. And now you are more sedentary than you were when you were 20s, right? So we need more muscle. Muscle is more active than fat. So now I need to teach you strength training, get you out of the cardio machine, feed you properly, right? Balance your blood sugar. So those would be the first steps. And then after that, we're going to be working like, okay, I think when people start to see that there's protocols and they start to see the results, that's when their mindset starts to, oh, I didn't know that this was possible for me. Oh, I didn't know that this could change for me, right? So I think that to break the mindset, it's more like you're going to have to trust the process, because we have all this data and all this this how can I say, this before and after this clients success to share with you, but you will not understand that until you actually jump into it and let us work with you. right? And that's when you're going to start seeing the success and your mindset's going to start changing. You know what I mean? And then from there, there's so many other things we can do, right? Figuring it out. Like right now, I'm like doing this glucose monitoring my glucose just to make sure that, because my cortisol is pretty high, make sure that that's not affecting my insulin, right? Which, see what I'm saying? There's so many things that we do. And then we do hormone tests to figure out where they are on with their hormones. You know, if you have no sex drive, well, let's just see how your testosterone is, right? Let's see, you know, can't sleep for nothing. Maybe it's your progesterone. Let's see what it is. And then we have a group of hormone specialists in our team as well that supports our clients with, you know, if it needed hormone replacement, but we work with bioidentical hormone replacement. And that's a whole nother story altogether, because a lot of women have fear of hormone replacement, and, you know, because of breast cancer or whatever. But gosh, I could go hours on this here. You know, the breast cancer, you know, connection with hormone replacement, it's debunked. You know what I mean? It was done, that research was done on a overweight population that was already, how can I say, you know, dealing with disease. And they, you know, unfortunately, they were the ones that they did the research, and they developed breast cancer with that. But you know what I mean? So anyways, there's so many other ways that we can go, but our clients are seeing great success. But we needed to take each individual, and we really work with them one-on-one to figure out what works for them and what is blocking them or holding them from seeing the breakthroughs that they need.
Absolutely. I mean, so many words of wisdom, so many stories here that I think a lot of, you know, people listening to this can really you know, relate to, and then also be inspired by, because, you know, you're, like I said, you're just true example of, you know, if you really put your mind to it and you really focus and have the discipline and dedication, you can achieve what it is that you want to achieve. And obviously, you know, more good things in the future will be to come. But yeah, I know we're coming up on time here, so I just want to finish with one question. And that's, you know, people are listening to this right now, they're probably like, hey, this, you know, Patricia sounds really interesting. I'd love to find out more about her. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, well, I think that my Instagram or my Facebook is, you know, where you can find me. Just on Instagram is under Coach Patricia Ivory, you know, just under Coach Patricia Ivory, and on Facebook, just Patricia Ivory. And yes, send me a DM. I would love to chat with you, and, you know, and give you some free resources, you know, answer some of the questions there for you. But you know, I want to leave you with this, right? I don't know if you ladies picked up on this, or whoever is watching this right now or listening. In every single step of the way, I always searched for someone to help me. Okay, so it's okay to ask for help. If you're stuck, the same mind that brought you where you are, it's not the same mind that's going to take you out. So you're either going to have to do a lot of self-development to change that mindset, or you're going to have someone that has a different mindset to come into your life and help you change those things. So that's why we became coaches, right? Because I saw the importance of having a coach in my life. It was amazing in every single step of the way.
Love that. Thanks so much for sharing that. And I know a lot of people listening to this are going to get a lot out of this. So we really appreciate you coming on, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate you. Really great time here. Bye, you guys. Thank you so much.